Hello everyone and welcome back to the Tin Barn. I'm Pragmatic Lee, and today I got another little project. It's not going to be a tool this time. I'm not going to make something for the shop. My grandson's 12th birthday is coming up in about a week, and I'm going to try to make him a little something for his birthday. I've been putting off this for about a week now, waiting for some warm weather. And I've run out of time. We're in eastern North Carolina, and we're having the longest period of time where the temperature has not reached above freezing in history, going over 10 days now. This morning it was 5 degrees Fahrenheit here at home. I don't ever remember it being that cold here. I've lived, as I've said before in my videos, I've lived on this land. It's been in my family for 7 generations. I've lived here my whole life except for 4 years in the Air Force. Never remember it being this cold. My friends in faraway places, that 5 degrees centigrade is -15 Celsius. I've been out here, I've had the heaters going here in the tin barn for about 2.5 hours now. And I finally got it up to about 38 degrees in here, which is 3 degrees centigrade. So I'm getting along all right. I got plenty of clothes on. The metal, of course, is cold. But I'm running out of time, and so we're going to go ahead with this project. What I'm going to build is basically my interpretation of a battle axe. This is one I made out of aluminum. Just as a prototype. It has no weight at all to it, and this is not going to be used, you know, it's something to hang on the wall and look pretty. It's doesn't have any real function. I'm satisfied with the proportions of this one in regards to the length of the handle and the finial to the diameter of the axe head itself. I don't really particularly like this design that I quickly come up with for the handle, so I'm giving that a little bit more time as I work on the head. But we're going to go over to the mill, and what I'm going to make my grandson's out of is a piece of 304 stainless. It's going to be a little bit bigger. This one was 3 inches, the head was 3 inches in diameter. This is going to be 4 inches. The reason I'm making it out of the stainless, I want it to have some weight to it. The handle and the finial on this one will be made out of brass, and the centerpiece right here will be out of brass. But the head will be out of this 304 stainless, and this is 4 inch. So it's going to be a little bit bigger, and it'll have some weight to it. The reason I wanted to use the stainless, again, I wanted it to have weight, but I also wanted it to be something that wouldn't rust. As I say, this is probably going to be something that will, you know, be appreciated for a while, put on display, and in his room, hopefully, he'll enjoy. Not carry to school, of course. But then over the years, if he hangs on to it, I want it to be something that wouldn't rust. So I know this is some hard material, but we're going to try it and see how we get along with it. So I'm going to get it set up on the mill to begin with. And what we're going to do on the mill is drill this center hole. That's 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to drill and ream that. And then we're going to drill, or we're going to locate the center of these holes. Not going to bore these out on the mill. I'm going to actually put them in the 4-jaw chuck, and I'll explain a little bit more of why I'm doing that when I get to the mill. I've got the piece in the mill vise now, and I've located the center just by doing diagonals across the corners. That's plenty fine for what we're doing here. And as I say, we're going to drill and ream the center for 3/8 of an inch. Then we're going to move over off of center 1.375 in each direction and spot those holes using the spotting drill. And as I said, I'm going to carry this over to the lathe in the 4-jaw to do that boring out. The reason being, if I try to bore this on the mill, being manual feed down, as this head is turning, it's going to be an interrupted cut. And as I'm putting pressure down, when it hits that interruption there, the board head's going to try to drop down, and then in just a split second later, it's going to hit that other side. It's rough on the mill, it's rough on the or the quill, it's rough on the table. It's just not a pleasant experience. I tried that with a piece of 1/4 inch steel with an interrupted cut like that, and it just didn't work good. So we're going to lay them out, and then we're going to put them in the 4-jaw chuck. All right, I'll come back to drill that one in a second. For right now, I'm going to move 1.375 on each side of center. And I'm getting this dimension off of, as I say, when I built the prototype, it's a little smaller than this, but I just used the proportions of it to the ratios to come over to the 4-inch piece. All right, now we're going to come back to center and drill and ream that center hole. For the 3/8, I'm going to use a 23/64 to form a starter hole, and then I'll ream it out. Alright, now I'm going to get this piece set up on the 4-jaw and start working on these outside holes. Okay, what I've done, I realize this is not that good a shot right now, but what I've done is I've got the live center and I've got it in the opposing hole over here, which of course is centered on the chuck. Got these 3 jaws tightened down good and tight. I've got this 4th jaw tied on there right now and leaving it on more for counterweight than anything else. Once we start to get to making this interruption, of course this jaw has got to move out of the way. So I'm going back the tailstock up now and turn it on right slow. I'll put the drill in, get us a starter hole for the boring bar, and then we'll start working on the hole. Alright, I've been trying several different boring bars in here, and it's hard, but it's cutting. This carbide, brazed carbide, seems to work better than the inserts did. Now I'm getting close to breaking through on this edge right here, so what I've done is back that jaw off, put a piece of sacrificial aluminum in there now. Got that jaw tightened back down. This jaw over here gives me some counterweight for this hanging over here, and again helps hold the piece in place. So I'm going to make a few more cuts on here. It's right on that transition now where it's just starting to break through the stainless. And get in down there. So I'm going to keep going on this, and when I get close to what I think is the final dimension, I'll bring you back. Okay, what I'm shooting for is a 1.6 diameter. Let's see what we got here. All right, that says 1.560, so we got about 40 more thousandths to go. We'll get 30 at the time. That's what I've been taking. Now I'm going to get the other 10, and then we'll make several spring cuts in here just to be sure that the hole is perpendicular with the face. .615. That is plenty close enough to what I'm doing here. So I'm going to take a little break, run in the house, get a sandwich, be back, and we'll come down here and get set up to do the other side. Got the piece reversed in the forejaw now. And over here on this side where we, of course, cut through, I've got a bridge across there now so that I can make use of this jaw. Over here on this side, I went ahead and put in the piece that when we start getting outside of this, it'll have something to stop the interrupted cut. But I've got that centered in there, reasonably close. There's a little run out in there, and you'll see the drill bit wobble some. But once we start boring, that will that'll take care of any run out that's in there. Now we'll go in with a 5/8 bit. All right, that's within 10 thousandths of being what the other side was. And that's the only thing that's really of any concern here, is that the two sides are proportional. And like them be close to each other, I'm just going to make a cleanup pass. Call that done. Now before we make a circle out of this, I want to carry it back over to the mill and drill and tap each side over here. Okay, I'm over here at the mill now. Here's the piece with the two holes on each end. I'm going to set this in the vise and locate the center. What I'm going to do, I want to drill and tap this section through here. That is what the handle will be secured by, and the finial on the other side. Handle on one end, finial on the other. We'll be drilling and tapping that for 1/4 20. Realize that's a bit big, this being 3/8 stuff, 3/8 material, but it's a very hard material, and I'm afraid I'll break a tap off in there, and that's the last thing I want to do right now. Alright, there's X and Y 0. And I was particular when I put this in there to keep this back edge even with the vise. And I've got the table locked down now, so when I get this side done, I should be able to just flip over, flip the piece and do the other side. Okay, now we'll get set back up on the lathe and we'll start making a round axe head out of this square piece. Now I've got the piece mounted back over in the lathe now, got the collet chuck in, got a 3/8 inch little arbor here for, that's what the purpose of that 3/8 inch hole in our axe head was for. So again, just like boring it out, this is some very hard material, but I'm going to take it a little bit at a time and turn this outside here until we have a circle. It's hitting all four corners about the same. So I'll bring it back when we get a whole lot closer. We got a ways to go here. All right, we're down to one little flat left right up here. I believe about another 20 thousandths. And that will take care of that. Okay, that's got it round. Now I'm going to just chamfer that edge a little bit. Of course, this is going to get a sharp knife edge on there, but I want to get rid of some of these very sharp places on there right now. All right, the next thing we need to do is get set up to start cutting our angle on here, cutting our knife edge on there. I'm going to let it cool down for a while, and while I'm getting the compound set up and also determining what angle we need to set the compound at. Okay, I'm going to see if I can explain to you what I'm doing here. I've got a piece of 3/8 inch rod now in the collet chuck, and it's actually run all the way down here to the tailstock. Just so that it's held straight in there. Our axe head, I want to start the knife edge at 0.7 inches from this edge right here. It will not have as much of an angle as the prototype did. But what I did, all right, this is 3/8 of an inch thick. So I carried this over to a angle calculator for the lathe, and large diameter is 0.75, small diameter I put it as 1/1000. I'm going to bring it down to just a sharp edge as I can. The length 0.7. That angle, or that tells me the compound angle should be at about 14.957 degrees. I'm going to set it at 15 degrees, and that's what I've got this bar in here for. Down here on my compound, I'm having to swing it. Let's see if I can turn you just a little bit. I'm having to swing this so far that I don't have any graduations on the dial under there to come this much past 0. So all I'm going to do is just hold that up there and try to get this set up to match that 15 degrees. And that is about as close as I believe I can hold it right here. So we'll put the axe head back in there and we'll start cutting. And when we get close to this center on here and to the witness marks we got on here, if we need to adjust any, we will. Then what we'll do is take this piece off, turn it around, and do the other side. So I'm going to get this back in the chuck. Alright, I've got some Sharpie around the outside edge here. And I got my caliper set at 1/2 3/8, which is 0.1875. And again, I'm just putting a witness mark here to shoot for. Okay, I think that's where you can see it now. Alright, I think need to put a new insert in, but you can see what I'm doing here. I'm working down using the compound, which is set at that 15 degrees, and just keep working back and forth until these two come together. So I'll bring you back when we get a little closer. Alright, we're getting very close to our witness mark on the inner diameter. And proportionally, it looks good on the outside as well. I think that angle is going to be right, so we're going to take another pass here. I didn't quite get rid of the witness mark, and not quite to the center, so we're going to go just a little more. Come out at a good steady pace this time. That looks very good. A little polishing up when it's all done, and that'll be the end of that. So I'm going to turn this piece around and we'll get the other side. Alright, I've got a witness mark over here on this side. I did that before I turned it around, or when I did each witness mark at the same time. So now we're ready to start cutting this half of our knife edge. And since that angle worked out on the other side, it'll be fine for this side, so I'll just keep running until we get to that inner witness mark. Alright, we're getting very close to the witness mark now, so we'll take all these feeds from the inside out, since we're getting a very thin edge out here on the outside now. Alright, I think that's as sharp as I dare try to get it through this method. When I get the handle made and get it installed, I'll have something to hold on to it with. We'll carry it over to the belt sander and give it a knife edge. So I think that's pretty much going to do it for the head. I'll get set up to start working on the handle. Alright, before I start working on the handle, one more thing I need to do on the head. I've got a little 3/8 inch, or just a little over 3/8 inch plug here. We're going to put that in the hole. Fill that center hole up. I'm going to grab a little bit of Loctite. This is going to be a press fit, but again, this is something I want to last a long time, so make everything as permanent as I can in here. All right, and I'm just going to use the vise to press that in with. And I want it to be a little bit proud on both sides. I cut it just a little bit long, so what I'm going to do over here on this side that was on the fixed jaw, I'm going to put just a little dab of grease on there, just to hold this washer in place. A little bit of sticky there. Be sure that it's holding in place. Well, I believe I got to have a little more grease. That's a little bit proud, but I'm going to grind this off, or not grind it, I'll carry it over to the belt sander. All right. Hopefully that'll hold it now. If I don't keep bumping it, getting it in the vise. There we go. So now we got a little brass plug in there. And like I say, I'm going to carry this over to the belt sander and just polish that up so that that's flush on both sides.